Hey guys.
Hey man.
Knew it. Hey guys, welcome to my second channel. Now I have a second channel specifically for vlogging. My first channel, which the first poly vlog is on, is now an art channel, so if you'd like to check that out, it would be in the description below. So, what are we talking about today?
I don't know.
We have a Q&A. It shouldn't be that hard.
Okay, Q&A. That's what that
You
is.
wrote down the questions.
Some of them. I just didn't know what it was for.
Oh, come on.
I never know what I'm writing stuff down.
He's lying. He knew. So, what's up on...
My wife is on board. How do I...
Do you see the if?
I said if.
No,
If my
you
wife
didn't.
is on board, how do I transition my best friend from mistress to girlfriend?
Alright, so first off, there are some issues with that question. The mistress being the very glaringly obvious problem. The problem there being that it implied that he cheated on his wife. That's a no-no. Cheating and polyamory are not the same thing. If you cheated on your wife and you have a mistress, even if this person that asked it said that they worked past it, even if you did, you don't go back to your wife and go, hey, this person I cheated on you with, can they be my girlfriend? Can we be polyamorous? Like, you
don't want your side hoe to be your, your main hoe now.
Because that's just sensitive territory to begin with.
It goes along with the definition of polyamory, which is it's a consent between all partners prior to getting involved together like that.
Exactly.
So them being, like you said, mistress implies the sense of like you went behind your partner's back, you broke their trust,
you broke
and
their
now
consent.
you're trying to say, well, can I legitimize this situation? And maybe even like
the way that the question is worded and the way that he came about asking it just made it sound like, how can I introduce this to my wife to justify my cheating?
Because like I think in a situation like that is he had not discussed with her, like he was just trying to make it like any further involvement with them would not be cheating.
Exactly.
Whereas not telling the wife about the initial cheating. So no, that's a big no-no. That like
if you're gonna be polyamorous before you even decide to get involved with anybody, even if you have feelings that you want to get involved with somebody, you need to communicate that with your partner. Especially if you're married.
A lot of it too is that like ask yourself is like, would I want someone doing this to me?
Exactly. It's just the whole basis of polyamory is you're still faithful. Like there's consent, there's trust, like everyone is on board and knows what's happening at all times. If you don't have that, you don't have a good polyamorous relationship, and it shouldn't happen. Anyways, so the second question being, how do you handle jealousy? And that's a question that comes up quite a bit, I would say.
Yeah.
So how would you answer that? How do you handle jealousy?
You set up a target of like the... No, I'm just kidding. So you really need to engage with your partner or partners, like whoever the jealousy is like with. You need to say, hey, we need to talk this out. We need to get through this because this is really going to eat me up. Don't bottle it up because that is not helpful because you're just going to lash out and you're going to ruin something great.
Something that I actually heard on a podcast that I watched yesterday from Lady Power. I'll actually drop her website down below. She has a podcast up right now about polyamory. Is whenever you have jealousy or you have an issue like that in a relationship, whether it be polyamorous or not, there's often a deeper rooted issue. And it's a great thing to communicate that with your partner or partners because there's a deeper insecurity, there's a deeper issue there, and communicating that not only helps the jealousy issue, but it'll actually help other things that you didn't even know were connected. Like, just to be vulnerable for a little bit, me personally, I've been in polyamorous relationships before that did not end very well at all. And so I have this thought in the back of my mind that if I let myself be polyamorous with him, that the person that he gets with, he's going to like better and treat her better and all that stuff, which he's given me no reason to feel like this. And so obviously there's a deeper rooted issue that needs to be communicated and needs to be worked through before you can really move on in the relationship. You have anything else to add?
Yeah, I was going to say that, like, same vein as you, there's a certain insecurity, and I think that all people, whether you're in a monogamous relationship or a polyamorous relationship, you're going to have jealousy. What comes in there is the insecurity of, especially if you've been in a situation where a former partner cheated, that you're already going to be like, oh crap, is this going to happen again? Am I going to lose this person to the other person? Because then you'll feel like an enabler to letting that happen to you, and you'll end up like really hating yourself. But that's why you need to confront them about it and like, hey, is this, what's going on with this? Like, any questions you basically have with them about it, like, hey, let's get this out. And that goes to even people that are monogamous right now watching this. This applies to you guys too. If you have issues with your partner, you need to address them. You need to be like, hey, this. Okay, because communication is key to any relationship, any partnership, anything, any interaction with another human being. Communicate with them. That's why we have mouths and 2 ears, guys. Come on now.
So, something that I kind of want to add on to that is jealousy in itself is not unhealthy, but how you deal with that and how you let it affect your relationship takes it into unhealthy territory and uncharted territory that you don't want to go down. And another question that isn't written down for us, but something that I feel is important to address, just kind of based off of what he said, is it possible to cheat in polyamory? Yeah, it is. While polyamory allows you to have more than one partner, depending on the rules and dynamics that you have set up for your relationship, if you do something without previously discussing it, without your partner's consent, without some sort of understanding, you're still cheating. If you get another partner and you hide it from your current partners, or if you just...
It's not fair to your partner or even people that you go behind them with. It's that, like, it's kind of a dick move, guys. I mean, really, it's just you have this situation to where, say, like, we're married, so it's like, if I were to have a relationship that was an extramarital thing that I didn't get the consent of, and there was no agreement, and I just lied about it, that's not fair to either party, because that's me trying to hide something from my wife. So that in itself, guys, if you're married, don't do that. That's dumb. That's really dumb. That's how you end up divorced, shot, buried in the backyard alive, different things like that. Okay, don't do that. That's dumb.
Something that I definitely want to stress, that I will probably stress many times in this relationship, is that polyamory is 100% founded on communication, consent, faithfulness. There is still ways to be unfaithful in a polyamorous relationship. If you lie about something, if you break some boundary, if you go behind previous arrangements, why would you be in a polyamorous relationship and then still cheat? I mean, if you communicate with your partner and you guys have a healthy relationship, then there should be absolutely no need whatsoever to cheat on your partner.
Yeah.
So, the next question is...
I think this one is...
Do you just constantly have sex? No. Well, I don't anyways. We don't.
No.
However, there are some polyamorous people who prefer to really just say that they have an open relationship, and they do have an arrangement where it's just purely sexual. But that's not the whole basis of polyamory.
So here's the thing. It honestly has nothing to do with what kind of relationship you're in.
Exactly.
You could be single, you could be married, you could have multiple partners. The amount of sex you're actually having literally just has to do with your relationship in general. Say you're single, and say that you're basically just bar hopping and just moving from person to person to person, you could literally have several encounters just within one day. versus like a married couple that maybe, you know, they haven't been physically intimate for like weeks. You know, it's honestly a thing of like, it doesn't matter what kind of relationship situation you're in, what kind of, like, how many partners you have. It's literally just down to the people themselves, because people have lives. You've got jobs, you've got kids, you've got other priorities you need to do. Like,
point out that even if there are polyamorous couples and people who are in polyamorous relationships that do have sex constantly, it's none of anyone's business but theirs.
Yeah.
If you're being safe about it, which this will come up in a later question as well, I think it's actually the next question if you want to just transition into that one.
Sure.
So, related to the previous is, are you scared of STIs? Which ties into the previous question, because even if you are a polyamorous couple and it's purely sexual for you, use protection. Get yourself tested every 6 months or so if you can afford it. And I also want to point out that people who are polyamorous tend to actually be a little bit more conscious of, like, STIs.
I think I'll touch on that a little bit. So, it's a thing that, like, it's a common misconception to think that multiple partners basically means that, like, you're just being loose and, like, free love. Now, granted, situations in like the 60s during the free love period, yeah, they were kind of reckless, but then again, contraception wasn't as great back then, and people just kind of didn't really care. That wasn't really polyamory. That was literally just, like, sex. People were just having sex. But polyamorous people now are more inclined to use protection because, for one thing, they already know in advance, hey, I'm going to have multiple partners, I need to be smart about it. So they don't have to kind of, a lot of times with, say, monogamous relationships, people try to hide the fact that they have STIs with their partner, because it's like, oh, well, where'd you get it? You didn't get it from me. So it's like they'll tend to not use protection so that they can basically, like, evade certain knowledge of cheating a lot of times, which is, again, don't cheat.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a thing that, like, if you really are determined to be with the other person, go be with the other person.
I definitely encourage anyone who either is new to polyamory, considering polyamory, or even people who have been in polyamory for a while, get, like, regular checkups if you can. I'm sure that there are some resources near you that are free or low cost. Like, if you've got a Planned Parenthood near you, then that's a great resource to go to get yourself tested. If not, then I'm sure that through a quick Google search you can probably find something.
You can buy them, like, the drugstore and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they'll have them, like, CVS. Like, it's really, I think the really, like, extreme ones, you'll need to, like, go to your doctor and be like, alright, you know, test the stuff down there.
Definitely you need to communicate with your partners and make sure if you're going to have intercourse with them. And this goes for even if you are monogamous and you're looking for a new partner. You need to make sure that they're either up to date on their testing or that they haven't come in contact with anyone that way. Make sure that they get themselves tested if they can. And just be safe, because I wouldn't want anyone to get hurt or to get really sick because they didn't know. Although I feel like it should be common knowledge to be safe, you know, during sex. But if you've got multiple partners and you've got people that could be put at risk aside from just yourself, then don't be reckless, don't be careless, it's inconsiderate.
And like, on that note too, is like, even in, like, in your poly situations, if you agree, hey, you know, we want to, like, maybe, like, not use protection, at least be smart, like, get yourself checked in advance to make sure that it's going to be safe.
Exactly.
You know, don't do something that's going to be risky, because, like, you know, like they said, that could endanger your partner, you.
Because at that point, it's not just you anymore. Yeah. It's other people that you're putting at risk because you not really wanted to be inconsiderate. Sometimes it just kind of happens that way, and if for whatever reason you get in the heat of the moment, you don't have a condom, and it happens, just make sure that you get yourself tested and make sure that you're good. Because
we know stuff happens.
I also want to point out that even if you've gotten yourself tested before after an encounter and you didn't have anything, there are STDs and STIs that don't present themselves for a while. And so just because you're not showing symptoms a year ago doesn't mean that you won't show positive now. So next question is, what if your partner falls in love with someone else? This gives me a good opportunity to actually go into what polyamory means. The literal translation means many love. So the whole basis of that is you kind of go into it expecting to potentially fall in love with another partner, and that's okay.
It's not just sex.
Exactly. Like, you actually have a bond with that person. You actually are in a relationship with that person. And there are many polyamorous couples who are triads, and they're all in love with each other, and they live together, and they have a family together. And then there are some who prefer to stay detached for whatever reason.
It's, I guess, more the difference between, like, an open marriage and polyamory.
Exactly.
It's where, like, you say, hey, you know, you can have sex, but beyond that, no, nothing else. Polyamory, it's kind of expected, hey, I'm actually wanting to form a relationship with this person and to build that emotional bond with them of, I love this person, I want to be with this person, they make me happy. That's actually what you're aiming for in polyamory, I guess, more than anything else, because it's like, you want that situation.
An important thing to recognize is that in any relationship, whether it be friendship, whether it be, I guess, your family, not one person is not going to fulfill every aspect that you need in a relationship. Like, I might be able to fulfill some things for him, while someone else will be able to fulfill other things that I can't. You know?
I think then that kind of, you know, this transitioned really well into our different questions. I actually like how that played out. So, this is transitioning into another question of what happens if two partners need you at the same time? Two or multiple partners?
I think it also is a nice segue into explaining the different kinds of polyamorous relationships. Like, there are relationship hierarchies where one partner, your primary partner, comes before everyone else and is essentially more important than everyone else, for lack of better words. And then there are some where everyone is equal, and then it really kind of comes down to your personal relationship. I wouldn't really say that we have a relationship hierarchy, just because I don't feel like that's fair.
Yeah.
That's just me personally. However, if he's got a problem and my secondary partner also has a problem at the same time, he kind of comes first because we're married. Like, I'm going to obviously deal with his problem, and then I'm going to try and move on and deal with my other partner's problem after that. It also really depends on the severity of the problem.
Yeah, so I was actually about to touch on, like, the nature of the problem. And, like, this is even something that, like, goes outside of relationships. It's like, say you've got, like, a close friend, they need something, and then, like, your mom just got hospitalized. Who are you going to prioritize in that situation?
Obviously your mom.
Yeah, I mean, like, your friends, if they can't understand that you need to, like, take this higher priority,
then maybe they're not a good friend to have.
It's like, it's like wrangling multiple, like, jobs and responsibilities at the same time. It's like, you're going to, I think, automatically kind of prioritize those things and say, okay, you know what, this is kind of more important than this. And it, you know, like they said, it boils down to what's the severity of the situation. Like, it's like, how severe is the problem? And sometimes you can honestly just handle multiple things at once.
Exactly. Like, because I can be here comforting him while also be messaging my secondary partner and trying to keep things in line there as well. Because, like, hypothetical situation of, say, his mom, for some god-awful reason, passed away, but my secondary partner, their pet passed away. His is going to take precedent over the pet.
It's like, sorry about your pet, but I kind of gotta...
Yeah.
You know.
It also comes down back to the whole communication thing of, hey, both of my partners are having an issue at the same time. I need to communicate with the one that has a less severe problem. I think it comes down to being a tricky situation whenever they both have a same level severity problem, or problems that are directly related to each other, or...
That's even a situation that you could actually, like, as an entire unit handle, like, because in a poly situation, like, they're not just going to lean on you, on the one person. Like, that right there could lead to being toxic and them being, like, an emotional vampire, that they're always leaning on you. That could drain a person really quickly.
Especially if you're like us and you're an empath.
Yeah. That back into that, it's, you know, it
really comes down to...
It's a personal judgment call.
It comes down to your dynamic and how things really just work for you. How things work for us is not going to necessarily dictate what works for somebody else. Like, our dynamic is going to be unique, your dynamic is going to be unique, everyone's dynamic is going to be different in some way. And so it really just comes down to communication beforehand. You need to kind of think about what situations you could potentially get into and talk about it whenever you're not under stress about said situation. And it comes to our last question of, I don't think I could do that. And that's okay. Not everyone is cut out for polyamory. Just like not everyone is cut out for monogamy.
I feel like this question gets asked really sarcastically a lot of times. Like, oh, I don't think I could do that. It's like...
Okay, you don't have to.
It's not for you, buddy. I mean...
It really, really honestly comes down to, for one, minding your own business whenever it comes to that dynamic. Obviously, it's one thing to ask questions, but it's another thing to be really condescending and judgy just because you personally can't handle it.
To push your own personal beliefs off on them.
Exactly. That's like me saying, well... I don't think that I could do monogamy, so you should try out polyamory because monogamy is stupid.
That even boils into, like, say, like people against, like, certain sexual orientations, like, well, I couldn't do that. It's like, then don't do it.
It's like, no one's asking you to.
It's like, I'm not asking you to, go, like, go spoon a man or, like, you know, like, I don't know, spend time doing intimate things with the lady if you're a lady. No. It's not for you. It's not for you. Don't feel forced into doing something that isn't for you. I mean, that's just how it is.
Anything else you want to bring up?
I was just going to apologize if it seemed like I was distracted. My little fuzzball over here.
You want to get her?
She's weird. So I'm making sure that she's not, one, stepping on your wedding dress and ruining it, and just trying to figure out, like, what in the world she's doing.
Do you have anything else you want to address or bring up?
You know, it's like, feel free to ask us questions because, like, I myself am rather new in the poly.
So actually, something I wanted to bring up, a question that I actually get a lot is if I or him have actually, like, how long have we been polyamorous? So would you like to touch a little bit more on that?
I mean, it's been basically the entirety of our relationship, I think.
Yeah.
Just about.
How we actually, like, segued into polyamory in our relationship is, I've been polyamorous since I was 15. Or I want to say 14, 15 years old. How I got into it, I'm really not going to go into, just because it's really no one's business. However, he is relatively new to it, and we didn't actually start out polyamorous. We started out pretty monogamous, and I was the one who suggested it for our relationship. Do you maybe want to go into how you felt whenever I first introduced it?
The jealousy question, basically.
Were you jealous?
Yeah, it's like, especially me having been in situations that I had felt, because I've had some pretty, like, nasty relationship endings, I'll say, that, especially, like, toxic ones that were really abusive, that's like, oh, so I basically felt like I wasn't good enough the whole time to you because you obviously said these things, and so I was a little hesitant about it at first. I was like...
Did it make you feel like I was just looking for an excuse to have another partner?
Yeah, like, because at that point in time, I didn't really know much about polyamory. Like, I thought it was just basically an excuse for cheating, which is, you know, I can understand that being a natural thought of some people who are not in the poly community that thinking that. So that's a pretty rational line, but they have to understand what level of trust goes along with it and what level of communication, and there's distinctions in which is which.
Do you have any advice for new couples that are looking to try and break into polyamory?
Ask questions. Like, get to know each other really well first.
Definitely.
Like,
we had the advantage of knowing each other for a very long time before we got together.
Like, if your relationship is kind of rocky, you guys fight a lot, don't even think about it.
Basically,
that would just lead to more trouble.
Make sure that you just have a healthy and communicable relationship with each other. Sorry I keep leaning forward like that. My computer keeps going dark. And
I don't think they're going to complain about
that. I totally didn't even,
didn't process
that.
But no, it's a thing to where, you make sure both people are on board, for the main couple, but make sure you're both on board before you kind of delve off into other things. And maybe at first try something like swinging, because you set boundaries on just being sex, right? Instead of being love and emotions, things like that, because that's honestly, I feel that something would destroy a couple more than if you cheated and you fell in love with the person you were cheating with.
Which kind of comes back to our first question of how do I transition my mistress to my girlfriend? And probably just one more thing that I want to mention, and this actually kind of relates to my personal life. It is completely okay if you feel like you have feelings for somebody and you get in a relationship with them only to realize that you misconstrued those feelings. Just make sure that you communicate, I approached it in the way of, I'm questioning my feelings, but I'm not questioning my love for you. It's more of a thing of, I don't know whether it's a best friend love, if I actually am feeling a relationship kind of love to you.
Or even an infatuation.
Exactly. I was straight up and honest with this person that I wasn't exactly 100% sure of my feelings, because I felt like it wasn't fair if I continued a relationship with them while not being sure of things myself. And he asked questions. He took it really well. And I honestly really chalk it up to the fact that we actually communicated really well about it. We were upfront, we were honest, we didn't beat around the bush.
You don't want to lead someone on and even, feel obligated to
carry on
something just because you're I need to do that because I'm the one that initiated it, so I need to carry it on.
Exactly.
No, if you just
and that kind of carries on into every relationship that you have, that if you get in a relationship because you mistook your feelings, don't keep that relationship going just because
you think you should.
Exactly. It's also a thing of you want to be not only fair to them but fair to yourself, because you're weighing yourself down, you're weighing them down if you continue on something that you're not feeling, because they've got feelings for you, but you don't have feelings for them, and they're investing time in you that you aren't really able to invest back in them because those feelings just aren't there.
Yeah, it kind of comes down, like you're saying, that, if you're in a relationship and you're doing 80% of the work and they're doing 20% of a relationship, that is not going to work.
You'll get burnt out really quick.
You will very quickly exhaust yourself. They'll get, they'll fall into a lull of thinking that you're just going to handle everything.
It's also not even just that, if you're not really feeling it and they keep trying to communicate with you and they keep trying to talk to you and they keep trying to do all these things that people in a relationship do, and you keep half-assing it, they're going to think something's wrong with them.
Yeah.
When that's not always the case. It's not the case most of the time. It's just, with me personally, I thought that feelings were there, that I didn't understand them myself, and that's my fault. I lost my train of thought.
I think in that particular case, for this particular individual, it was just, they're very open in general, so you weren't really sure, of your feelings in going into that. You weren't sure of, if the feelings that they let out were those kind of feelings just because of how open they are.
Exactly.
Anyways.
It plays into me being autistic, though, and so things for me are going to be a little bit different than things are for you, which is going to happen anyways. But like I said, it honestly, everything comes down to communication. If you can't do that, and if you can't learn how to do that, then you're not going to succeed in a polyamorous relationship or even a monogamous one. But I think that's about enough time that we've spent talking about things.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here.
If we do decide to address more questions, then we'll make a second
And feel free
Q&A.
to comment on this, and any questions you guys have, we can answer them.
But like I said, this is my second channel, so if you're interested in art or anything, or even if you just want to watch my first poly vlog, they're over on my other channel, which I'll link in the description below. Probably link my Instagram, my art Instagram. I'm not going to link my Snapchat just because that's
Yeah, they just blow it up and everything. But hey, girl.
But I'll link my Instagram, so if you want to message me directly, you can message me on my Instagram. I'm always there. I think that's it. I'll also drop the link to the Polyamory podcast. I don't think that all of their stuff is on polyamory. They also plan on covering other topics.
Yeah.
Such as sex work and things like that. So if that's something that interests you, then their podcast is definitely for you. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.